How to Save the World and Other Things on My To-Do List. One Woman's Totally Serious Guide to Inner World Domination by Lizzie Allan, Creator of Hilarapy. Chapter 2. You've been using this all along. Here's something that might feel a little inconvenient. You're already doing it. You're already using your mind to create your life. You're already using your mind to create your life. Not sometimes, not when you remember to be intentional about it, all the time, every day, without even trying. Most people assume that they're not creating what they want because they haven't figured out how to yet. But that's not really the issue. The truth is, you've been practicing your whole life, just not always in the direction you'd consciously choose. Because here's what nobody tells you. Long before you were old enough to question any of it, your mind was already hard at work, making meaning, drawing conclusions, building beliefs out of moments you didn't have the tools to process. At some point, usually very early, something happened and your brilliant meaning-making mind did what it was designed to do. It made sense of it. Except the sense it made sounded something like this. I'm too much. I'm not enough. I'm not lovable. I have to earn my place here. Not because any of that was true, but because at the time it was the only conclusion available to you. Let me tell you where mine came from. I was 6 years old at a family gathering on my dad's side. My uncle had just taught me to juggle. Half-baked skills at best. A few minutes of practice, nowhere near ready. But I was 6 and I was electric with it. That feeling of having something new and exciting and wanting to share it with everyone immediately. I didn't question it, I just went. I walked into the kitchen where a big table of adult family members were sitting, and I interrupted them, demanded they watch, and then I started dropping the balls, picking them up, dropping them again, trying and failing and trying again with absolute unself-conscious persistence because I was 6, and I didn't yet know I was supposed to be good at something before I showed it to the world. And then my grandmother stood up. Elizabeth, go away and come back when you can do it properly. I went into the hallway, and when you're that age and no one can see you, it feels like you don't exist, like you've been erased. I stood there in the hallway, exiled, humiliated, the balls still in my hands, and something settled into me that would take decades to fully see and name. I am too much. Nobody defended me, nobody came after me. I stood in the hallway alone and learned in the way that children learn, not through words but through the body, through the felt experience of what just happened, that my bigness, my enthusiasm, my unself-conscious aliveness were not welcome, that I needed to be more finished, more controlled, more ready before I had the right to take up space. I learned to juggle really well after that. I never showed my grandmother. That is what we do with shame. We get good at the thing. We just never show the person who made us feel small. We carry the original wound quietly and build our competence around it like a wall. My grandmother was a good woman, but she was distant and critical, always commenting on my ragged boy's clothes, torn from skateboarding, making me wear dresses, brushing my hair until tears came to my eyes. She had a particular way of pointing out that the version of me that existed naturally was not the right version. Too much of some things, not enough of others, never quite right as I was. And my mother, a single mum doing her best, had her own pain. There were times when she was entertained by my bigness, and times when I was too much. When she was having a hard time, when she was overwhelmed, my feelings or needs made things worse. I learned early to read the room, to manage my aliveness based on what the people around me could hold, to make myself smaller when smallness was what was needed for safety. Over the years, as these things do, the belief found more evidence, more moments of being big and energetic and finding that it was too much for the room, more moments of shrinking, more proof because the mind is extraordinarily good at finding proof for what it already believes, that this was simply the truth about me. I am too much. And then the teenage years arrived and brought an entirely different flavour of self-rejection with them. I was a tomboy, had always been, skateboarding, rough clothes, not remotely interested in the things girly girls were interested in. And when I became a teenager and realised I had to dress like a girl, I felt, and this was the only way I can describe it, like the alien in Men in Black, the one inhabiting a human body that doesn't quite fit, going through the motions of being a teenage girl while feeling like a complete and total fraud. I tried to fit in, grew my hair, attempted the things that seemed to come naturally to everyone else, but I felt like a freak. Different in a way I couldn't name yet and wasn't ready to name. I was 17 when I really loved another girl and admitted it to myself, just to myself, in the privacy of my own mind, not to anyone else, and even that felt almost unthinkable. The idea was so big and so exposing and so at odds with everything around me that I pushed it back down before it could fully form. I buried it instead. Party drugs, smoking, drinking, whatever made the not knowing easier to carry. And all the while, the words running in my head, you're a freak, you're different, you don't fit, you're not like them, practiced themselves into something that felt less like a thought and more like a fact. Here's what I understand now that I didn't then. I wasn't dealing with the truth about myself. I was dealing with a set of conclusions my mind had drawn from experiences I didn't have the tools to process. The grandmother in the hallway, the mother who sometimes couldn't hold my bigness, the teenage years spent trying to fit into a shape that was never mine, the sexuality I couldn't yet name. None of that was the truth about me. All of it became, through repetition and time and the mind's extraordinary ability to practice a thing until it feels permanent, the story I was living inside. And here's where it gets wild. You didn't just think those things once, you practiced them, quietly, consistently, automatically for years, until they stopped feeling like beliefs and started feeling like facts, like just the way things are. So now you move through life half expecting things to go wrong, replaying worst case scenarios before anything's even happened, telling yourself you can't afford something before you've even looked, watching other people succeed and feeling that complicated little twist, not quite jealousy, not quite admiration, and wondering why the same thing feels so out of reach for you. And all the while thinking, I don't know why nothing's changing. Let me be honest with you for a second, with all the love I have. You say you want a big life, but you won't say yes to yourself. You'll spend money fixing your car without blinking because obviously the car matters. But when it comes to investing in your own growth, your healing, your expansion, suddenly it's, oh, I don't know, it's quite a lot of money. Is it expensive or is it just confronting? You say you want things to be different, but every time life actually invites you forward, there's a list, a very thorough, very rehearsed list of reasons why now isn't quite the right time. I'm not saying this to be harsh. I'm saying it because I've done all of it, every single bit. And here's the thing. This isn't about blame. It's not about beating yourself up for thinking the wrong thoughts or creating the wrong life. That just adds another layer of rubbish to the pile. This is about awareness, because the best news I can give you is this. You're not dealing with a fixed reality. You are dealing with thoughts and beliefs, and those can change. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, I was living in Preston, Depreston, as I came to call it, which tells you everything you need to know about my relationship with the place. I worked for a recovery charity, going out into the community every day, meeting people struggling to get clean and trying to help them access the recovery networks available to them. It was meaningful work, important work, but it was draining in the way that work is when it isn't quite the work you're here to do. I was carrying people through days that were genuinely hard, meeting unrealistic targets, doing paperwork that was completely unsuited to how my mind worked, and all the while this vision was growing in me, quietly, insistently, of something more, of comedy therapy, of hilarapy, of a formula I could feel taking shape but couldn't yet fully see. I had bought a car, too expensive for where I was financially, a bit of a heap if I'm honest. But I wanted an Audi, and apparently that was sufficient reasoning at the time. And then I realized Depreston was too small for what was growing in me, that I needed to go, that wherever I was going next, it wasn't here. And suddenly the car, this car, I had bought with money I didn't really have, became the thing standing between me and the next chapter. And my mind got involved. I started worrying about it constantly. What if something happened to it before I could sell it? What if I damaged it? Every time I drove it, I wasn't in the car. I was braced against every possible thing that could go wrong with it. I was rehearsing disaster so consistently and so vividly that it stopped feeling like worry and started feeling like certainty. Then one day, pulling out of a parking space at work, a bollard I couldn't even see scraped all the way down the side of it. Value halved just like that. You could call that bad luck, but I knew. I had been rehearsing that exact moment in my mind for weeks, feeling it, expecting it, and life met me there. That was the turning point. Because I realized if my mind could create that, it could create something better. So I changed. Now when I drive, I thank the car. I see myself arriving safely. I put my energy towards what I want, not what I'm afraid of. It sounds small, but it isn't. Because here's how it actually works. Your thoughts create images. Those images create feelings, and those feelings get reflected back to you in the texture of your life. Not instantly, not magically, not a think it once and it appears kind of way, but consistently, cumulatively, over time. Which means the work, your actual work, is to gently, persistently, and imperfectly train your mind, not with force, not with relentless positivity, not with punishment when you slip back into old patterns, just with awareness, a bit of humour, and a willingness to notice, oh, there's that thought again. Because the moment you notice, you have a choice. You can interrupt it, question it, slowly, steadily rewrite it. I learned to juggle really well and never showed my grandmother, but I showed the world, and the world, when you show up as yourself, fully and without apology, has a way of responding that your grandmother never could. You've been using this your whole life. Now you're just starting to use it on purpose, and that changes everything. If you would like to download a free copy of this book, go to my website, lizzieallan.com, and find How to Save the World and download your free copy there. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, share with your friends, because this is a group effort. I'm really glad you're here. I love you, I love you, I love you. I'll see you soon.